It was a time in both Australia and the US when police and the courts turned a blind eye to domestic violence, not even a term until the mid-70s, and often lacked earnestness when it came to the investigation of sex crimes against women. There was too often a culture of blaming the victim, and too many of these vulnerable women chose not to speak out or seek justice. Looking back with the benefit of hindsight, there is plenty of fault to find in the various law enforcement investigations of Wilder. Everything from the wrong identification of victims to missing evidence, to petty internal one-upmanship politics, to downright incompetence. It was also an age before real technological advance or proper centralised databases, which meant everything moved at a snail's pace and in frustrating silos. Mostly, however, it was Wilder's phenomenal charm and his extraordinary ability to manipulate not only his victims, but everyone around him, that allowed him to develop into such a horrendous serial killer. He managed to fool his family, colleagues, girlfriends, and his wife, and outsmart cops and deceive psychiatrists, therapists, and judges. What most serial killers have in common, when you scratch away long enough at their personalities, is an inability to completely conceal their true nature. The murderous intent is always there, lurking in the background, if you look hard enough. Wilder was different. He was clever at hiding not only his crimes, but more importantly, also his core self. Wilder was to his girlfriends, mates, colleagues, and acquaintances a handsome businessman and sports car racer. A bit of a womanizer, but harmless enough. A guy who loved dancing and drinking expensive cocktails. His chilling charm, impeccable sophistication, and unfaltering manners duped all those around him. Over the course of 20 years, Christopher Wilder committed hundreds of appalling crimes, from Australia to mainland USA, as well as Hawaii. He matured into the most depraved and merciless killer it is possible to imagine. But his bloodlust and carefully concealed malice against women, especially those that were both young and pretty, started on a desolate and windswept beach on Sydney's southern fringes. Chapter 1. Wanda Beach. Monday the 11th of January 1965, Wanda Beach, Sydney, Australia. It was 11 days after New Year and shaping up to be a sticky Australian summer. Teenagers all over the country were still hoarse and in the throes of Beatlemania after the British band's tour just a few months earlier. The Vietnam War was a looming cloud with compulsory military service for 20-year-olds recently introduced. But most families were optimistic about the future. Unemployment was less than 2%, front doors were left unlocked, and in many cases wide open, and children played safely in the street unsupervised. It was a time of flower power and the beginnings of feminism. 15-year-old Marion Schmidt and her best friend from next door, Christine Sharrock, were busily pulling together a picnic to take to the beach. The two girls were like peas in a pod, the same age and height, both slim and attractive, with curly dark hair. Although they went to different high schools, they were inseparable, always in and out of each other's Sydney homes on Brush Road, West Ryde. Typical teenagers, they loved fashion, gossiping about boys, listening to music, and learning the steps to the latest dance craze. If it wasn't the stomp, it was the mashed potato, the hitchhiker, or the jerk. Marion's favourite was the climb. She was a huge Elvis Presley fan, and the two girls had recently seen his latest movie, Viva Las Vegas. 3 days earlier, Marion had written in her diary, "Happy birthday, Elvis. I think I love Elvis, not for his money, but himself. Heard Elvis's songs all day." The girls' bond was strengthened by their shared grief. Both had lost their fathers. Christine had been living with her nan and granddad, Jim and Jeanette Tague, since her father died and her mother, Beryl, remarried. Marion's father, Helmut, had also died from Hodgkin's lymphoma 2 years earlier. Money was tight in the Schmidt household, and the family only managed to scrape by thanks to the Smith family charity and the kindness of neighbours. Marion's mother, Elizabeth, who had arrived in Australia with Helmut and the children in an influx of immigrants from Germany in September 1958, had recently had to go into hospital for hepatitis, and Marion had been left in charge of cleaning and cooking for herself and her younger siblings, Norbert, 5, Wolfgang, 7, Trixie, 9,